both Port Moresby and Canberra who have brought this treaty to fruition. The result is an alliance which will see both Papua New Guinea and Australia be fundamentally safer.
All right. Yes. Live. Okay. Okay.
Call to the honourable member for Solomon.
Thanks, Speaker. My question is to the Deputy Prime Minister. What is the importance of the defence treaty between Australia and Papua New Guinea, and what impact will this have on our Australian Defence Force?
Call to the Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister for Defence.
I thank the member for his question and acknowledge his service. Yesterday, our Prime Minister and James Marape, the Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea, signed the Puk Puk Treaty, Article 4 of which contains a mutual defence obligation, giving it the character of an alliance, the first alliance into which our country has entered since the 1st of September 1951, when Australia signed the ANZUS Treaty 74 years ago. This means that PNG is now our third ally, along with the United States and with New Zealand. This is deeply historic, but it's also perfectly natural, because it is unthinkable that any Australian government today or in the future would regard an attack on Papua New Guinea as somehow not engaging our national interest. And indeed, on the one occasion where this has occurred in our past, we were most definitely there. Kokoda Track during the Second World War is deeply etched into our military history, and it, along with the battles of Milne Bay, Gona, Boona, and so many other places, saw more than 6,500 Australian personnel make the ultimate sacrifice in the defence of that territory. And at each and every moment, Papua New Guineans stood shoulder to shoulder with Australian soldiers, emblematic of the relationship between our two peoples then and our two countries today. From PNG's point of view, this represents an unambiguous choice to see Australia as its natural security partner, a choice that we do not take for granted. And this alliance will now further the process of the integration between our two defence forces, which will include the recruitment of Papua New Guineans directly into the ADF, the first step of which will see permanent PNG residents in Australia be able to join our Defence Force from the 1st of January next year. Now, this agreement has been negotiated in record time, underpinned by a shared and significant ambition. And I really want to thank James Marape, the Deputy Prime Minister, John Rosso, my counterpart, the Defence Minister, Billy Joseph, along with our Prime Minister, our Foreign Minister, our Minister for Pacific Island Affairs, and the countless officials in both Port Moresby and Canberra who have brought this treaty to fruition. The result is an alliance which will see both Papua New Guinea and Australia be fundamentally safer.
We have just watched Honourable Richard Marles responding to a question raised in the Australian Parliament, and it's a shame. It's a shame to the people of Australia and people of Papua New Guinea that the Deputy Prime Minister, of Australia and the Defence Minister should lie that the people of Papua New Guinea have ever entered into an NJAC treaty 70 years ago, because we never existed as a state. We were just a colony of Australia. Now, Australia and then to an extent the American bullying should stop here, because they paid little or no attention to our affairs as a sovereign state. since 1945. After the Second World War, there was a lot of debris and there was a lot of damage done to our people and our country, which the Australians and the Allied forces had never fixed. And they just used our labor, our land, and its resources, and they have continued. The Australian government had continued to extract our resources in gold and oil and gas, and they continue with that as Oil Search, an Australian investment company, holds large stakes in our oil and gas reserves. And it is only their interest that they are protecting in bullying and dragging us into and using and kakuing Marape into signing this treaty unlawfully, because it was not done properly. There was no wider consultation, and there was no act of parliament passed to commit Papua New Guinea to a foreign country like Australia. And Australia has never been a part of the people of Papua New Guinea, except that they were former colonial masters who were taken over from the British, as Papua and later New Guinea was declared as a British protectorate. And we obtained our self-government and independence in 1975, existing as a sovereign state. And the manner in which the Australian Prime Minister and the Australian government had come to force James Marape to sign this bilateral agreement is unlawful, and we've given notice. And I have called on the people of Papua New Guinea to do a protest march so that the Prime Minister is brought to resign, because he has proven that he's not a fit and proper person with the manner he goes about to execute government decisions. So the Australian Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Defence, Honourable Richard Marles, should withdraw his claim that we were party to all the previous strategic defence agreements with Australia, New Zealand, and America, because we have never been a state. And he should not mislead the Australian Parliament and the Australian people to think that we are warmongers. If Australians and Americans have any war agenda, they should not involve the people of Papua New Guinea, because we are a small nation and we are not interested in war. We have a foreign policy that says that we are friends to all and enemies to none, and that stands. So the Australian Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Defence should apologise to the Australian Parliament and the people of Australia for lying on the floor of Parliament that we were always strategic partners. The Second World War was not our war. It was a war provoked by Germans and the Japanese after they bombed the Pearl Harbor, and they fought the war in parts of Papua New Guinea and affected us, and they have never paid or made any reparations since 1945 to the people of this country. And you should be ashamed of yourself for dragging us into a war that we have not asked for and we are not party to. Now, for your information, since September 16, 1975, you've ignored us, you've exploited our natural resources in oil and gas, you've taken our gold and copper through Panguna Mine and Oktedi, and then to a later extent Pogera and all the Lear and all the mines through a company called Barrick New Guinea Limited. And you continue to look at our resources, and you have denied us from developing our own economy. We still don't grow our own rice and our wheat and that. And you have taken advantage, and you have blackmailed Marape to sign this bilateral agreement. And you should apologize to the Australian public for lying in the Australian Parliament that we are party to this agreement. The Chinese have ramped up investments in this country. They put up infrastructure, and they've done a lot of things that Australia has never done. Australia gave us independence and ran out from our source. And you should not run back to Papua New Guinea to get us involved in your petty wars. We are not interested in war. We don't want war. And we are now calling on James Marape, to resign as Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea for acting on his own and not in consultation with our constitutional laws and our laws. And I asked the Honourable Richard Miles from Australia to withdraw what he said on the floor of Parliament, that we've always been a part of your wars, because we have had no wars as a nation. We have declared no war against anybody. We had our own civil strifes emanating from the unfair and fraudulent British Australian laws that says that we don't own the rights to our natural resources, and that's been an ongoing battle. And we are still trying to address some of the fraudulent laws introduced by British and Australian laws that they have not corrected over time. And you will not take advantage of our situation where we have a corrupt government, we have a corrupt Prime Minister who is not accountable for all his public expenditure, and we are trying to hold him accountable to the rule of law, and you are only overarching, trying to distract what's happening in this country. I asked the Australian Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister to retract their steps and do things properly, and do not mislead the people of this country. Thank you for watching me. John Ndemongo Kua, President of the People's Anti-Corruption Movement.